Hello, welcome everyone. I hope everyone can hear me clearly and also see my presentation on your screen. Welcome to Your Perfect Gut Solution. My name is Irene Pauline and I will be your speaker today. So I'm pleased to present to you. We are expecting quite a bit of attendees, and I know people are still logging on, but I want to respect everyone's time and thank you for those that are on time here. So we've got an hour together. I've got a lot of great, exciting material that I'm going to cover with you to help you find your perfect solution. And so we'll have an hour. I'll do a question and answer towards the end. So what you can do is just there is a questions chat screen. So as any questions come up as I'm presenting, just type away and then I will answer all the questions at the end just to make sure that I cover everything with you today. Got lots of people still logging on, but that is okay. I'm gonna take care of some more of the housekeeping details here and then I'll do some intros with you. So, like I said, you should be able to hear me. So hopefully your volume is on. If you can't, any technical difficulties, just type in the questions chat section there. And then I am prompt and I will look into it. Perfect. And then also you should see my slideshow presentation. And everyone should be on listen in mode so we don't have any feedback happening. I can hear you. Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks so much, Taylor. I appreciate that. Yes, and please feel free to chat away. Any questions can be in the box. And so we've got an hour and I will take care of some intros here. So this is the Your Perfect Gut Solution. It is hosted by Living Alchemy and Vitamart.ca. So I will introduce myself here. So Irene Pauline, I'm a certified nutritional practitioner. And what brought me into this line of work is dealing with cancer, a cancer battle at a young age. And where I am today is I am cured, and it's been about 7 to 8 years. And I believe in both conventional medicine, there's a time and a place, and also complementary medicine. And that is what brought me into this wonderful holistic world. I am here for you now and to help share and serve. So I'm very happy to be present with you today to be able to pass along the knowledge of my learnings in the past good few years here. I am also an educator with Living Alchemy. So I'm very knowledgeable about Living Alchemy, which I will do a little intro with them right now as well. So Living Alchemy is life perfecting nature, which means they are providing living whole food supplements, and they are providing living whole food supplements. So not just whole food supplements, but stepped up a notch where it's living, and that is through fermentation, and that is through a unique kefir kombucha culture. It's made with 35 strains. It's all small batch, traditional, long fermentation processes, which you'll learn more about. It's an amazing Canadian company and free of any fillers, flavors. It's vegan, it's gluten-free. So yeah, lots of good stuff with this company that we will get more into as well. So this is the full line if anyone recognizes it. It's sold throughout Canada. I know we've got people logging on from everywhere. And yes, it's also sold with Vitamart and .ca here. So let's get into a little bit more about Vitamart. So Vitamart is also our host today. They are an amazing online retailer. And they are Canada's natural health food store. So they sell over 10,000 products. They're all about customer experience and customer satisfaction. And what's lovely is basically they want to just make you healthy and happy, as we all strive to be. So they're a good source for that. They are the ones that are providing a special gift for you. So please stay tuned here for the 1 hour with me so I can give you that special gift on behalf of Vitamart.ca. And also there will be a recording of this. It will be emailed to you after the event as well. So if you need to reference anything, if you need the slides, they will also be there for you. I do have to input this disclaimer. So this is a presentation for informational purposes. We're not here to diagnose or treat any healthcare problems, and always consult with your healthcare practitioners what this is telling. So let's get into it. Your perfect gut solution. So tell me why you are here today. Feel free to type away. Let me know what your biggest concerns are, what you are looking really to find answers to. If it's stomach discomfort, if it's gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, no one knows you online here, so you can just go ahead and type away. Skin irritations, eczema, psoriasis, brain fog, that's a real thing. Anxiety, depression. So there's lots going on. IBS, yes, leaky gut, SIBO. These are all things that we're going to be talking about. So hopefully you are on the right online event here. And yeah, we really want to be able to focus in on this and really reach today's goal and tomorrow's goal, meaning our future goals. So to achieve optimal digestion is what is key. Repairing damaged gut lining, reducing inflammation, balancing the immune system. This is going to then in turn help with energy levels, help with kickstarting your metabolism again, getting a good night's sleep. So all of this is connected, and it all starts with gut health. Great, I've got people typing away about how they've experienced all these symptoms. I'm sure it's tied to gut health, so I'm glad you're on the same page with me. I hope to provide you with lots of solutions here today. Yes, and how do I know gut is contributing to my chronic anxiety? That is a great question posed, which I will certainly get into that, so don't you worry. We'll get into it with the brain-gut axis that we will be talking about. So this is our solution. Let's keep it positive. So your perfect gut solution. These are the solutions that I'm going to touch base with you on today. It's going to be number one. It's going to be balanced nutrition. This is talking about real whole foods, and I'm going to talk a little bit about medicinal foods because this is also going to make a big difference. And then number two, and always secondary, is supplementation. Supplementation is secondary, and this is where you're working with different probiotics, prebiotics, enzymes to help provide you with something to help speed up the process. If you've been suffering for a long time, if it's been 5 years you've been suffering, you don't want to suffer for another 5 years. You need to help speed up that process, and supplements will help with that. But you want to make sure that it's the right supplement, of course, and that's where Living Alchemy suggestions come in there. And then number three is balanced lifestyle. This is a big one as well. So that's body movement, that's mind relaxation, because this is very much involved with gut health here. I'm seeing the questions and the comments come in, and this is wonderful. I hope to really touch base on a lot of these today. Thank you everyone for joining. I really appreciate your time. And I see we've got more people logging in, so this is great. I'm just going to continue on here. So let's talk about the gut. What is the gut that we're going to be going into today? So the gut is the digestive system, and this starts at the mouth. This starts with the teeth. This starts with the tongue, the salivary amylase. That is what is triggered through aromas. It does involve all the senses here. So smell is a part of it. Chewing is a big factor with the digestive system. This all kickstarts the digestive system. And then we've got everything from, of course, the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder. Bile is an important factor with the digestive system. And then we've got the small intestine and the large intestine. That all is very important, helps with the breakdown of food. It helps with the absorption of vitamins and minerals. It helps with producing the more vitamins and minerals for your body to really be able to be optimal. You can see the diagram there of the intestine, what that looks like. And I just want to point that out because we're going to get more into the intestinal wall. So that is the intestinal wall that I'm going to be referring to in this presentation. And then of course the rectum, the anus, because what goes in matters and what goes out also matters. So this is something to also take note and be mindful of. And then Other things that I want to talk about that you might be hearing more and more about are words like microbiome or microbiota. What does that mean? So we've talked about the gut, that from the mouth to the anus in that sense. And so what is microbiome or microbiota? This is really everything from bacteria, yeast, fungi, viruses that are all held. They're microscopic, of course, and they're all held throughout the body. So when I say throughout the body, I mean your hands, your skin, your lungs, of course, the intestines, everywhere throughout the body. So everyone's microbiome is different, and this is all throughout our whole body. Today, what we are going to be talking about is the gut microbiome. So that is within the digestive system, the gut that we've just talked about, the gut microbiome or the microbiota. That is what we're talking about. So that is also known as gut flora. You might be hearing about that word, or gut ecosystem. So this is really the bacteria, the yeast, the fungi, the viruses, all good and bad, that live within the digestive system. So throughout the mouth, throughout the large intestine, the rectum, etc. So these are all good and bad guys to say, and gals, and they should be living in a symbiotic, a harmonious relationship, just like any family should. But there's always ups and downs. So there's always the good bacteria, say, surviving more so than the bad bacteria, as we try to keep that intact that way. Sometimes the bad bacteria have an overgrowth, and that is where more inflammation, infection, etc. can get into. So there are actually tens of trillions of microorganisms. Microorganisms being that bacteria, the yeast, the fungi, and tens of trillions live within just the intestines. So this is huge. This actually weighs up to 5 pounds, just to give you a better understanding. And also it is more diverse than the Amazon rainforest. So there's a lot of different microorganisms that live within there. So to kind of break it down a little bit more, 1/3 of our gut microbiome is common amongst us all. So that's what we have in common. However, 2/3 is very individual. And going back to, our intestines are a fingerprint of our DNA in that sense. And we are also different, just like our fingerprint is, our gut microbiome also is. So that's where we really have to think of diversity. Everyone is different, and we all need a little something different. If it's food, if it's supplements, if it's the difference of resting and digesting, however that might be for you, might be different for me. So that is something that we want to also consider. So our gut microbiome is also different, and keeping in mind diversity when it comes to our gut microbiome. So that's what we will get more into. I hope I clarified a few kind of trending terms that have been talked about lately. And so the next slide actually is what there was already a comment on, which is the brain-gut axis. So what this is also known as the brain-gut connection, your second brain being your gut, and why that is termed that way. It's because the brain and the gut are connected through what you can see there as the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs through the spine, and throughout the spine, that is called the vagus nerve. So how you can think of that is a highway. It's a highway of messengers. So it's cars driving back and forth, two-way traffic, and they're delivering messages. If it's I'm hungry, says the stomach to the brain, and then really it's the bacteria talking, saying, I want a cupcake. And that is true because our bacteria do crave, and our bacteria do signal different cravings. Most likely what our cravings are probably what we should stay away from. And so that is where it is a two-way highway. And so that is where, rest and digest comes into place after we eat, or so that is the brain-gut connection, the vagus nerve. That is so important. So that is kind of the basis of that, what that also means in the sense of anxiety, or say depression, or brain fog, concentration, memory, is that if you are listening to the bacteria with, the sugar cravings, that can cause inflammation. It can cause brain fog to be created, which is going to also in turn can become a cloudiness. Brain fog feels like a heaviness, and also a hard time concentrating. And this can be because an overgrowth of bad bacteria, which is then signaling to the brain. And there is an off balance of bacteria. And so that is where the connection is very important to be mindful of. If you're suffering from, if it's anxiety, looking at your diet, because, too many carbs, too much sugar, too much white bread, etc., might be the cause of that. So looking at food and looking at all of this holistically, meaning all of this is connected, and looking at it in the sense of it's not an isolated factor. One thing isn't only affected. We need to look at all root causes involved. So that will bring me to the next slide here, which isn't meant to stress you out. So I'm going to try to explain this in more of a simple terms. I won't get into too much of it, but it's the psychoneuroimmunology. So what this means is the endocrine system, which is your hormone regulating system, goes with everything from your thyroid to your testicles or ovaries, your reproductive system, your nervous system, and that's your nerves, your neurotransmitters, everything in between that's operating your whole body, and then your immune system as well. All three of these are connected. And they are all affected by your gut, and they all affect your gut health as well. And so say if you are suffering from hypothyroidism, so you have an underactive thyroid, slow metabolism means excess weight. So this is how it can affect your gut. What came first, the chicken or the egg in that sense? So having that balance is necessary. Different stressors, which is my next slide, is going to talk about how these different stressors affect all of these systems in place. Because if your endocrine system is thrown off, it can then eventually lead to a nervous system being thrown off, your sleep being affected, the brain fog, the anxiety setting in, which then also can cause inflammation throughout the nervous system, throughout the body, which can then affect the immune system. And, if it comes to fighting infections, maybe you're getting more colds and flus or new allergies developing as an adult. That is something that's very common. New pains happening. So it really does involve a balance of all of these, but starting at the root cause, which is the stressors. So root causes of the stressors. Traditionally, it was very simple. It was just microbes and animals. Today, it's gotten a lot more complicated. Of course, microbes and animals, but not so many animals chasing us, depending on where you live, of course. But sorry, I'm just taking a drink of water here. Got to remember to stay hydrated. Yes, feel free to ask any questions in the chat section I've mentioned, and I'll get to them at the end of the presentation. Just want to respect everyone's time with me because we have 1 hour together. So the other root causes of stressors, they can also be toxins. So this includes alcohol, smoking, drugs, medications. Why I call these toxins is because they overload the liver. And the liver is also part of the digestive tract that we've talked about too, right? So the more the liver is overworking, the harder it is then working to absorb the good vitamins and minerals that we need to function properly. Environmental toxins, things we can't see, food, radiation is something that's so much more present with our food supply. Our different dietary foods that we are eating, if it's packaged, if it's processed, this causes stress on the body. Sleep clock rhythms, that's a big factor. That is a stress on the body. If you're not having regular sleep, if you work night shifts or irregular sleep patterns, etc., this can cause inflammation on the body, which in turn can result to some chronic conditions. Exercise, also too much, too little, both bad or good, can also cause inflammation on the body. If you're working out too much, recovery time isn't present, and that's where sprains and injuries come in place. So all in all, there's different types of stressors that affect everyone very differently. That brings me into my next slide here. Homeostasis. This is an important slide. And homeostasis, so it's the balance within our body that our body is always trying to obtain. Our body is always working 24/7 to create homeostasis within. And what that means is everyone's range is different. Homeostasis does not involve keeping conditions static. It involves keeping conditions within tightly regulated limits. So everyone's homeostasis level is different. And that is where there's certain peaks and valleys when it comes to, being healthy and not being healthy. And that's okay. There's a tolerance limit. When you keep treating your body in a certain way, or you keep feeding it not the right nutrition it needs, not having that diversity within your foods, where it's not getting the vitamin C from oranges all the time, or if it's not exercising, or if it's exercising too much, you can see more inflammation build, etc. So there is a homeostasis, or balance, where our body works very hard to achieve. It's a balance within our body, and this is very different for everyone, where you need to find your own homeostasis. And those are things we'll be talking about, that mind relaxation. So where do you find your peace and calmness? And that might be different for me, and that might be different for you as well. So that's where we need to achieve this. And it's with tuning in a little bit more with what works for you. I'm going to give you tips with what we've seen work, and just got to keep an eye on time. So I'll touch base on these few other slides here as well. The disease cycle, so like I've talked about, modern day burdens to the body, so that's those stressors. It then pushes the body out of balance. So the digestive tract is the major interface with the environment. So the digestive tract will be one of the first affected. And that is because, if you're stressed while eating, well, you're not going to absorb anything. That's going to go right through you. So that is, how the digestive tract can work in some cases. And that's where, number 3, the first symptoms can appear. So it might be tiredness because you're not absorbing the right nutrients levels. It might be gas or bloating because you didn't chew enough. It might be acid reflux, heartburn, etc., because you're not eating the right foods. Constipation, not enough water, etc. So there's a lot of different uncomfortable symptoms that may appear. So, you think this is normal. This might just be happening from time to time, but over time, if it's continuously happening, you think that is your normal. That is not the new you that you just tend to stick to. That's where those symptoms aren't normal, and where communication can then break down in the body. And that's that communication that I talked about in the endocrine system. So that's the hormonal reproductive system. We looked at the immune system, and then the nervous system as well. So communication breaks down between the 3, and then more symptoms appear. So worse constipation, cramping, food sensitivities, skin irritations, all those complaints that we listed. And then things get serious, and malabsorption, tissue deterioration from the intestinal tract as well throughout the body, allergies, and severe disease can be caused. So this is how the disease cycle can be created. And how a lot of it is stated is that death believes in the colon. So that's a common quote. And it's also unfortunate because it's a silent disease, thinking gas and bloating is normal. I'm not saying it's, some severe disease that you're suffering from. I'm just saying that be mindful. Those are signs your body is giving you. Signs that if that continues, looking at what you're eating that might be causing that gas or bloating. When your skin flares up, if it's eczema or some sorts, connecting it back to what you might be doing, thinking, eating, etc. That to not allow those symptoms to just be silent, to recognize them. And because a lot of those conditions are asymptomatic, like the celiac, the Crohn's, the colitis. Unfortunately, some of those stated diseases are incurable. So that's where we don't want to get to. However, some of us might be there, but we can work to find solutions. IBS, this is what I know some of you might be going through. I'm just going to give you kind of more of a condensed version of it here, just because we've got a lot of details to talk about. So on the left here, bottom left, normal tight junctions. I hope you can see my arrow. That is what our intestinal tract looks like. So remember in that first slide when I said what is the gut and the intestinal tract. So that tubing, the small, large intestine, all connected. The circular wall is 1 cell thick, and that's the intestinal wall. That's the tight junctions. And then you've got the little microvilli and the villi. That's what absorbs throughout the intestines to be able to break down and also absorb vitamins and minerals. So leaky gut, there's different triggers you can see that then cause inflammation. This inflammation is then over time causing those tight junctions to loosen. So that microvilli, they're disappearing. The tight junctions are creating a gap within your intestinal wall. And that means those food particles, those triggers, those stressors, those pathogens, they are entering your bloodstream. They're entering your bloodstream, and then that's where it's causing irritation, systemic inflammation as well. It's causing irritation in ways of appearing on your skin. It might be a rash, food allergies, brain fog, anxiousness, so over time, poor health. And that's the basis of when you hear about leaky gut. I'll touch base on some other conditions that you might be wondering a little bit more of. I apologize for the pictures, but they are snapshots of colonoscopies here. Inflammatory bowel disease, IBD. So that includes Crohn's and colitis. And there's different markers with IBD. It's inflammation in the intestinal lining. Crohn's can be anywhere on the GI tract. So that's anywhere from the mouth even to the colon. Colitis is only in the colon, particularly the large intestine. They all contain the inflammation. The microvilli are dissipating. There's a dysbiosis, so that meaning an unbalance in the GI tract that's happening. You can see polyps, you can see inflammation, bleeding, etc. And with Crohn's, it's patches throughout the intestines, while with colitis, it's particularly the lining that is damage of the intestinal lining that we looked at. So, and also immune dysfunction is also in place. So new studies have shown that IBD is the second most common chronic inflammation disease worldwide after rheumatoid arthritis. Unfortunately, today, no treatment in conventional medicine has consistently been shown to successfully be treating IBD. Yeah, this is where we want to work to prevent, help to get into remission, help to provide some relief, day-to-day relief, right? These are all serious conditions. So that's where we want to work towards more of a holistic living approach, balanced nutrition and lifestyle. Balanced nutrition and lifestyle. So what does that mean? That means it's simple. It's real food. And really that is what I'm going to say to that. It's simple. It's real food. It's back to our roots. It's eating what is grown from the ground or what is provided by an animal source or grown from the trees, etc. So that is where, you're not looking for man-made foods. You're looking for, if you need something sweet, there's honey as an alternative. There's lots of plant proteins out there. But I'm not talking about processed plant proteins. I'm talking about real whole food plant proteins. But also, if that involves meat or dairy or whatever chooses to work for you, providing it is real whole food. It's unprocessed, and it contains the least amount of chemicals, fillers, additives. So that's where I like to say shop the perimeter of the grocery store. You might have heard that before. And that's really just looking at ingredients with 1 to, I kind of say 5. 5 is the max. So if you're shopping the perimeter, your fruits, your veggies, your meats, your dairy, etc., limited ingredients. Shop the interior aisles of the grocery store or your online retailer. And you're looking at ingredients like olive oil or chickpeas, dried chickpeas, and those types of pumpkin seeds, almonds, etc., oats, whole grains. So that is where you want to keep the ingredient list. If you can't pronounce it and it's a mystery, don't eat it. And I know that for everyone's a little bit different with their preference of if it's different intolerances and different diets, and just try the real food diet. So that's a big one that I always suggest as a practitioner. Of course, there's dislikes and likes and different capabilities of what you can digest, but starting simple, starting with the basics, eating like our ancestors, including more fruits, veg, whole grains, whole meats, clean foods, clean meats if you can, clean dairy, unprocessed, unrefined choices, less packaged, unreal foods. I always like to say homemade and nature made is best made. And this will equal less sugar in your diet. This will equal less chemicals. When you've got less chemicals, additives, fillers, that's less inflammation right away. And then less bad fat. So this is all really helps to increase fiber, antioxidants. That's going to help to really give lots of nourishment, lots of nutrients. The pH levels of the body will be increasing. So, well, to balance out, I should say. So lots of goodness with just eating simple. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate things. So if there's specific, more specific food questions, I'm available to talk after as well. But I want to keep going with the slides. Other foods that are important that I want to talk about are medicinal foods. So looking at your kitchen as your medicine cabinet, as your pharmacy, and introducing more medicinal foods. So herbs. Herbs are a big one. After I finished kind of my protocol and treatment for cancer, and I chose to reduce inflammation, reduce flame frog, and I went kind of raw vegan cold turkey. Never thought that I would, turn raw vegan from eating potatoes and rare meat. But what got me through being able to ease that transition is herbs, fresh herbs. They make a world of a difference, incorporating them everywhere and anywhere. Fresh herbs when possible, but of course dried is great too. I use a lot of dried herbs when boiling rice or lentils. It just helps break down those anti-nutrients in your legumes or beans. And so herbs are a great medicinal food to incorporate into all your dishes. Fresh, preferably dried if you can too. Mushrooms are a big one. I don't just mean white mushrooms. I mean all the dark colored, all the rich antioxidant filled mushrooms. So try something new. Remember diversity to feed your gut microbiota. So diversity is key. Try new mushrooms, new experience with new flavors. And this is where there's a lot of different medicinal properties to mushrooms. Every mushroom has a different property to it. If it's shiitake, has been proven to help with candida, which, isn't always, old research shows it's more fungal, that it works opposing to candida. So look at shiitake for that. There's reishi, known as the Chinese longevity herb for a longer life. So there's different modalities for each mushroom, and, spice it up with more herbs and mushrooms. Those are medicinal foods that are important to incorporate. And then fermented foods that I want to get into. So fermented foods, past and future medicine, they really are superfoods into superfoods. So all superfoods in their native culture were fermented, and they were fermented into a higher form of nutrition, where it's rich in probiotics, and they're used in both ceremony and in medicine. So that's really, really interesting. So they really did cherish these fermented foods, using them in ceremony, but using them in medicine as well. So everything from coffee to cacao being fermented. We've got our soy in Asia, maca. Maca is a very hard root when fresh, and you can't consume it fresh. It is only used in a fermentation process, just like baobab in Central Africa as well. And then we've got milk. Milk is the difference between yogurt, and then there's another level, it's kefir. So if you're already eating the clean, real food diet, funny to even call that a real food diet, if you're already eating real food, try to step it up a notch. Maybe you already drink their cow's milk. Try goat milk. Try almond milks. Try even yogurt. Instead of yogurt, try kefir, as I should say in Europe. So there's ways to step it up a notch. If you already are doing the best you can, there's always ways to improve. There's lots of different superfoods out there that can help, and fermented foods are a great source. Of course, I can't forget, grapes to grape juice to wine, so also fermented, and that's where potential benefits of fermentation are. The bioavailability is enhanced. The key therapeutic nutrients are enhanced. This creates unique compounds that can actually communicate within the body in a different manner. And that's where it's entering into different metabolic pathways and different actions that are available. I've seen a great difference with consuming more fermented foods with clients, with hearing from customers all the time when using fermented supplements also, because that's a stronger, more potent way to get more fermented foods into your diet. Fermented foods really are a living whole food matrix. And yes, when fermenting, it's much more bioactive, bioavailable. These are some quotes from some research that's kind of proving that. Well, not kind of, I should say, that is truly proving how fermented foods are 4,000 more plant flavonoids, 600% more carotenes. There's 10 times more stronger than vitamin C and vitamin E. So using more fermented foods as antioxidant support. And it really is the symbiotic approach. And symbiosis is the intimate relationship of different organisms living and evolving in harmony within an ecosystem for the benefit of each other. And this is what your gut microbiome, the bacteria, all the yeast, all the tens of trillions that we talked about that are in the intestines should be creating. They should be in symbiosis. They should be creating and thriving in an ecosystem. However, due to the stressors we talked about, it's not always the case. Looking at more real foods, looking at herbs, fresh mushrooms. Of course, I also say when it comes to fresh, I know it's not always in season. So frozen, I would go for before I would go for canned if you're looking at some options there. And fermented food is really symbiotic. So that's what we're going to get into a little bit more. A specific fermented food that I want to touch base on, which is very unique. It has a very unique profile of nutrients, and it really responds in different ways in the body. I'm talking about fermented soy. I'm not talking about genetically modified soy from America that is not organic. I'm talking about organic, non-GMO fermented soy, which is very different than your conventional soy. Soy has a unique balance of amino acids. It's a complete protein. It has polyphenols. Polyphenols are strong antioxidants that come from plants. Other nutrients that, when fermented, produce all the necessary compounds to reestablish all digestive processes, repair the intestinal tissue, and create the optimal environment for a healthy gut microbiome. The Asian cultures consuming fermented soy have the healthiest and diverse gut flora in the world. And so this is, we're looking at food items. So things you can incorporate would be tempeh, natto, miso, fermented soy milk. In that sense, might be a little bit more difficult to come by in North America here. But yes, natto, tempeh, miso. And that is where soy, fermented soy, has the polyphenols that are then activated into a form that is bioavailable and has therapeutic actions. Like that previous information stated, is that it helps to repair the digestive lining. I have more research to show that. And this can be done to a degree by the gut microflora. So what this means is polyphenols have to be fermented. Polyphenols, those antioxidants coming from plants, our body naturally ferments them. But if we give our body fermented foods and fermented soy, say, we're easing that transition. We're giving our body a break. We're able to give a little bit more nutrients where our body doesn't have to do so much more work. And I should say a lot more nutrients in this case, because it's much more bioavailable and much more active. Our body's already going to go through the fermentation process, so we give it a head start. Why not, right? And so there's more research that are the next few slides. And so it is 40 minutes after, so I've got another 20 minutes with you. Still a lot to cover here, so I apologize if I'm speaking fast. But this slide's important. So although soy is a rich source of plant protein, its nutritive values are concealed by anti-nutrient properties, which you might have heard before. But fermentation not only reduces the toxins, but it also leads to the production of several benefits. Compounds such as peptides, also the polyphenols that we talked about. Peptides in fermented soybeans provide bioactive properties, so everything from antioxidant, anti-turmeric, anti-diabetic, antimicrobial, so really showing what fermentation can do to non-GMO and organic soy, and how it breaks down those anti-nutritive compounds. So it breaks down the negatives that come around with it. Intake of fermented soy milk significantly improves the ecosystem of the intestinal tract in the body. I'm going to just flip through some of these. This is talking about the reduction of the immunoreactivity when it comes to soy allergies by 96 to 99% from fermented soy. So it's a different plant protein that is available. Fermentation can decrease soy immune reactivity as well, hypoallergenic soy products. So lots of different research here, and then also fights against degenerative diseases. So really helps to repair the gut lining that we're going to show. This is where I get into number 2, being supplements to speed up this process. If you're suffering from something, or to create optimal digestion, improve energy levels, improve concentration, supplements can help with this. And this is where we lead into the fermented soy, because Living Alchemy provides Your Flora Symbiotics. All of the Your Flora products contain the fermented soy. The fermented soy, known as Kefi soy, it's called Kefi soy because it's kefir kombucha fermented soy. So it's a living culture. It's a living species of kefir and kombucha. It's non-dairy, and it is fermented with soy for over a month. For a month, I should say. It's all small batch, and it's all organic and non-GMO. And that is where the soy is what's creating the repair of the digestive lining. Next few slides will show some research on this that we have. The Your Flora products all contain 35 strains of the therapeutic microorganisms. After 1 month, the soy is then freeze-dried. You want supplements that are freeze-dried because it captures the living probiotic, prebiotic, the enzymes without denaturing the enzymes and the probiotics. You don't want to kill anything off when you're then, say, powdering it when you're trying to capsulate it. So they're all capsules, I should say. They're all vegan, 100% organic capsules, and also fermented capsules too. So that's pretty interesting. And yes, so no fillers, no flavors. Talked about all this with all of the Living Alchemy products. These are all the 35 strains that are plated. There's more with that because it is a living culture. It's kefir and kombucha, a living mother, and it's fermenting with different with the soy, the non-GMO organic soy. What it's providing, the Your Flora supplement, it's providing all of these different nutrients, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, all in one capsule. And the capsule, what I mentioned, is also clean. So this is also important. So you want to use supplements to speed up the healing process or to prevent for preventative measures, but you need to make sure that they're also clean solutions for you, right? Because even the exterior of the capsule can cause irritation if you are already sensitive, have a lot of different sensitivities happening with the digestive tract. So that's something to be mindful of. This is research about the Kefi soy. Within 30 days, you can see the before and after, the microvilli, those little fingers in the intestines that absorb the foods, the vitamins and minerals. You can see those are growing within 30 days. And you can see the difference of that. So that's quite outstanding. That's a high dose, 700 milligrams to take note of. This is a really great human study that we're just in the process of. This is before and after from a 45-year-old male with ulcerative colitis taking the Kefi soy. He did take 4 capsules per day for 6 months. So this is the the before and after is truly magnificent to see that, and what results are possible, of course, of a higher dose, because this is a severe condition. These people in this human study, it was 20 subjects, and they didn't have any nutritional changes, and they already tried all conventional medicine. So they weren't on any medication at this point. They already tried it all. Their next stage, so this sample A, this person was going to get into surgery, was the next stage. Before that, he tried this test study using our Kifi soy, and seeing the results after are outstanding. This is the 6-month marker. So the 6-month conclusion is a 95% remission rate after 6 months. It's a 1-year study. It's still in progress, so you can learn more on our website there. So you'll see it's the blog. It's under blogs, and it's called Symbiotics for IBD. More research on Living Alchemy's Kifi soy. This is showing an 80% survival rate of the microbes. So you might hear with some probiotics, they don't actually survive your stomach or the stomach acid, etc. With this, we have seen within 14 days, there's an 80% survival rate of Lactobacillus plantarum, and that is because we are fermenting using kefir and kombucha, so whole food sources the body can recognize. Kefir actually creates this mechanism around the amino acids, around all of that nutrients that's within the soy, that allows the natural strength to only be able to enter and be absorbed in the intestines. Just like if you were to eat kefir on its own, you're able to get the probiotic benefit. You know, it's the difference between cabbage and sauerkraut. You're able to get the benefits there. So I feel like I've got just under 15 minutes with you still. So I feel like you understand the importance of fermented foods, fermented supplements, clean fermented supplements, to help to speed up the process here. I mean, even the Living Alchemy, your Flora products have natural L-glutamine in there. That's going to help with tissue repair. The natural L-glutamine is coming from the fermented organic soy, as opposed to just isolated. So what Living Alchemy believes in, they would never sell you vitamin C, ascorbic acid. They'd sell you the whole orange. And that's because your body needs all the antioxidants, all the vitamins and minerals that are within the orange on its own. Just like the difference between curcumin. Curcumin is extracted from turmeric. There are so many benefits within turmeric on its own. And so that is where, you know, just consuming turmeric, but having it fermented, you're able to absorb it even more so. So I say that because Living Alchemy is one of their top sellers, is their fermented turmeric, whole root, and it allows for all of the actions to take place, allows for inflammation to be reduced, and that's because it's fermented. So it enters into different pathways within the body for that action to be created. Yes, so I still have so much and not enough time. Nourishing the terrain. This is where it really looks at providing that sunlight, that good bacteria, all the food, the water, everything is necessary to create the ecosystem. The ecosystem is what is important throughout throughout the intestinal tract. It's not the microbe. The terrain is what is everything, and that's the ecosystem. So, you know, do you want the ecosystem of a tank, a pond, or an ocean? Of an ocean, it's much more vast. It has a lot more different species. Because remember, 2/3 of our microbiome is very different compared to everybody else's. To provide that diversity in foods, to provide that diversity in supplements, which means, you know, using something like Living Alchemy that has the 35 strains, allows for the environment to improve, because it's not about more of a CFU count. It's about the environment to be properly nourished, the ecosystem to be properly in its homeostasis level. And you do that using symbiotics. Symbiotics include probiotics, prebiotics, and enzymes in one. And that's what your Flora does. It nourishes with key nutrients the intestines. It restores with the healthy microbes. It builds because it's got prebiotics and enzymes, and then it also helps support. Additional herbs are included. So this is a slide about the difference between your Flora symbiotics versus probiotics. The Your Flora symbiotics, plant-based, organically certified, natural fermentation process that's a month long. This encourages your healthy flora. So everyone's so different. So providing an ecosystem that is thriving. So your own bacteria can replicate naturally. And that's what your Flora symbiotics do, is that it provides nutrients for your own gut health, your own bacteria to survive and thrive. So they can colonize. So the bacteria and yeast, the good guys, can take over and be stronger, especially in a time of a sickness or an illness. If you have to take antibiotics, one round of antibiotics can actually wipe out your system for a year. But if you have a strong gut ecosystem, strong bacteria and yeast, this is where your recovery time won't be, and your bacteria won't be as effective. So looking at probiotics in the way of ones that help to feed your own ecosystem. A lot of ones out there are made in the lab. They're not from that living culture, that kefir kombucha. They may not be natural. It's more of a quick process. So that if they are fermented, it might be a 24 to 48 hour period. And where that dictates your flora, because there's only select bacteria within that, might be 3 to 5. And it might be billions and trillions. That can be more overwhelming to the system. Those billions and trillions might not be the suitable ones for your 2/3 that is different than everybody else's. So yes, sometimes you hear more irritation caused by probiotics, etc. So that is Your Flora series. I'm gonna briefly just go into, there's 6 different products. They all contain the kefir soy, but they all have different herbs to help support. So for Regenesis, you would choose Regenesis, if you are constipated, if it's just more of a sluggish, heavier digestive flow that you have, or non-flow, I should say. And also, if you've suffered from antibiotics, this is one that's really going to help support the liver as well, because of the artichoke leaf and the chicory root. So if you've just recently got off antibiotics, this is a good one to get started on. It's one of the more stronger ones because of the liver support. It also helps with post-any infections as well. This is a great regime if you've got candida. I would use this product. It's fungal cleansing also, supporting the liver. Comfort, chamomile and fennel, it's that kefir soy. It's great for gas and bloating, instant relief. Also, you can take it long term, day or night. All of the products they're all whole food based, so they are food, so you don't need to take them with food. You can if you want. They don't need to be refrigerated. That's a question I always get. And 1 to 3 is as per the label, but take more if you need it as needed. Comfort, bloating, and gas. I like this one before bedtime too. And then also it's good for colic and safe for nursing mothers. Family, this is great for ongoing support for the whole family, even for the dog. It all is whole food based, from children to seniors. As per Health Canada, I believe for probiotics at 6 years or older. It's what they say, but it's at everyone's, the parent's discretion, of course. These are the only ingredients in here. And then in the capsule, it is just the organic fermented capsule. So with this, this one is sensitive. So with the sensitive, you've got the kefir soy, and then you've got peppermint leaf and lemon balm. This is really great for any digestive irritation. So if you've got the leaky gut, the IBS, it is also a good one for people that are having very anxious and overstimulated nervous system. So what that means is, say that you get stressed and right away you get diarrhea, or you become very tense. That means your stomach is also becoming tense. That means that irritation, that cramping, that is something that is not just affecting, your nervous system, it's also affecting your stomach. So remember to think holistically here, and that's where this, your Flora sensitive is also going to help with if you are suffering from any anxiousness, irritation. This is going to provide stomach comfort. And then Soothe. Soothe is a great one for gut inflammation. Also, if you run a little bit colder, or if you're just looking for a turmeric and probiotic. There's ginger in here as well, so that's great for nausea. Also, this one helps relieve heartburn as well. And then Terrain. Terrain is the top seller. When in doubt, go for Terrain. This one has won awards in 2018, and it was for the digestive category, so the top digestive product in Canada. And this one here is Terrain. It's the keefy soy, aloe, slippery elm, and marshmallow root. So this is really going to help to repair the leaky gut. It's going to help to repair the digestive lining. So that is where the microvilli will help to strengthen, tighten those junctions we talked about. So this is a great one. Also, for those with, this one's great for those with diarrhea, that's right, as well as with skin conditions. Because you need to work on repairing the digestive lining, that will help to alleviate those triggers to get through your bloodstream that's causing the skin irritation. It's about starting with repairing the digestive lining is what's very important here. So those are the 6 products. Every one is different for every different body constitution, and so that's where I just wanted to get a little bit more specific which one might be right for you, because we are so different, and one item isn't for everybody here. Some product feedback we've seen, your Flora Terrain, 5-year-old boy, his mother finding as this is the best solution. Severe eczema, 1 capsule a day for 2 weeks. You can see the before and after, so that's amazing for something so natural to be able to work this well. More product feedback. They can be this. This gentleman takes the Comfort, which is a nice one. I said at bedtime, Regenesis in the morning. You can mix and match. Just seeing the difference in energy levels with concentration. My thoughts are clear. I feel happier, more vitality. It really does start with the gut. And that is where looking at supplements to help to improve that is really going to help. It's going to help with energy levels, so your nutrients are properly absorbed. And that is where adding in supplements is secondary. So I want to now also touch base on holistic living. Balanced lifestyle. This is a big one too. This is a big one when it comes to gut health and overall balance. Remember that homeostasis chart. That stress levels are different within everyone's. So it's a little different for everyone, and that's where finding that peace and quiet in a day will be different for everyone, but making sure you find your peace and quiet. I'm starting from the bottom up here. 30 minutes minimum of peace and quiet a day. If it means you have to wake up earlier, do that. If it means that you have to step away, go for a walk at work, whatever brings you peace and quiet, will improve mood. It will improve concentration. A minimum of 30 minutes of movement a day, and whatever movement makes you happy. No one's to say one works better than the other. So long as you're moving, doing the two together, finding peace and quiet and movement. If it's a quiet walk, or if it's, whatever that is for you, finding that movement. And I know for some people, an hour a workout or 2 hours, if that is where you thrive, that is where your homeostasis lies, and that is different than everyone else. So finding your balance, and that's where I'm suggesting at least a minimum of 30 minutes of movement a day, that peace and quiet minimum of 30 minutes, and then about 8 hours of sleep. It can range from 7 to 9 for everybody. What's important here is making sure that is consistent, making sure the bedtime and wake up time is consistent. That will really help with your circadian rhythms, really help regulate hormone production, really important for women. Water, this is great from everything from, of course, gut health to skin health, to the nervous system. So getting at least the 8 if it's, 5 to 9, etc. Based on weight and height, etc. That's a little different for everyone. But yes, water is key. Clean water. We're very lucky here to be able in Canada to get and have access to. So drink up with the water. Our nervous system is very stimulated. It's very active. If it is from, advertising always, or social media, or computer lights and the light on our phone and etc., it's stimulating our nervous system. We may not know it or not. This is causing those stressors, those stressors that we can't see. It's coming from we see it, but we don't know how it's affecting internally. And this is where we really have to look internally with that balance, finding that balance for ourselves, and keeping it in motion. And what healthy is, healthy includes the spirit, includes the body, and it includes the mind. Healthy is not just the absence of sickness. It's about thriving in all aspects. So making sure that you've connected and looked more in tune with how that looks like for you. I hope I've provided some solutions for you with balanced nutrition, eating real whole foods, keeping it simple. Anything with less than 5, preferably just one ingredient, keeping real whole foods, introducing medicinal food. Those herbs are going to change your food. They're going to really help with everything from inflammation, helping with providing a lot of antioxidants, etc. Mushrooms I've talked about, great for the immune system all around. And then fermented foods, incorporating more fermented foods. Go investigate and see what kefir is. Give it a try. And then number 2 is supplements, and that's the complete digestive solution. And that's where I'm suggesting your Flora Symbiotics. Your Flora, there's a 6 different your Flora Symbiotics, 6 different products, one for different types of bodies, different digestive constitutions, what you might be going through. If it's that heartburn that you might have mentioned, you choose the right one for you. And they include the probiotics, the prebiotics, and enzymes. So that's why it's a great one to be trying all in one. And then number 3 is really that balanced lifestyle, keeping that body movement, that mind relaxation in place, being present in the moment, and making sure that you're taking care of you first, so then you can take care of those that you love as well. So yes, that is the solutions that I wanted to provide you, and I'm just right on time here. So let me give you your special gift for bearing with me and keeping and being here. So special gift from Vitamart.ca is 15% off all Living Alchemy products. So not just the Your Flora products we talked about, but all of them. You'll see here that Turmeric Alive I mentioned. My favorites, the Warrior from the Signature series. Lots of different products. Use promo code Living Alchemy 15% off of any of the Living Alchemy products on Vitamart. So that is what I wanted to offer you. I will make sure this is recording is going to be emailed to you. Contact information is on the next screen if you have any questions. If questions come up after after the segment here, feel free to just email Living Alchemy if it's product related questions. If it's you're looking to get further in depth, work together. I do consultations for people online anywhere as well. So my contact information is there. And then I am going to, for those that do have questions, please hang around. I really appreciate everyone and their time with me today. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have found your perfect solution with some tips and trial and error. And I hope that you can get there, and I wish you the very best in your health. Thank you so much. And for those that have questions, I'm going to answer those now. So feel free to hang around if you'd like, but you don't have to. Your gift code is here. So Vitamart.ca, and just apply the 15% off there. So I'm going to take a drink of water and I'll get to the questions. Just pulling up the questions here, bear with me. Okay. Oh, and I guess I should have mentioned things, Taylor. Expires July 2nd, this promo code. July 2nd. So that is next Tuesday. Promo code expires. I should have put that on there. It will also be emailed to you, I should say. So the promo code is going to be emailed to you as well, and you'll have all the details. So I'm going to start with the bottom up. Diana, thanks for your questions. Is the capsule gelatin free? Yes, it's all vegan. So what the capsule is made out of, it's organic fermented tapioca. Which one is best for colitis? So for colitis, depending on your symptoms. So if it is diarrhea, if it is more it's digestive lining with colitis as well, right? Because it affects lining, is damage of the large intestine. Terrain would be the best one there. So for colitis, it would be terrain. Let's say it's colitis, but it happens to be constipation because it's different for everyone. Then you would look at maybe perhaps regenesis. You could take both together. It's the kifi soy that's really doing the big difference, and then it's the herbs that are supportive. My first recommendation would be terrain. Hope that answers your questions. I got another. I'll answer those that haven't left. When it comes to medications, thank you. Kidney transplant done 10 years ago, just wanted to know any side effects of anti-rejection meds. So when it comes to medications, with any supplements, it always is recommended to talk to your healthcare provider. A pharmacist, sometimes you can get the answer quicker as, yes, medication contraindications are not always known. So that's why I would say talk to your healthcare provider there. Let's see, Kate here. Thanks for joining. Some questions. How do you know what one is right for you? Where does one start? It's overwhelming. Also, I missed the first approximate 50 minutes, so maybe that's already talked about. How does one know? How do you know what is right for you? So if you are asking specifically with the supplements, I explained that, and I'm sure you caught that now that you were on the last half. Every supplement that's for different body constitution. So depending on your symptoms, how do you know what is right for you? Where does one start? Start with the basics. Start with sleep. Start with water. Those things are free. And then real food, keeping away from the processed foods. And then if you're saying, I already am doing that, I'm already eating healthy, as some of us do our very best to. Well, the question is that honest? Do we do our very best to? And are there certain foods that cause any congestion in our body? Do we feel a little off when we eat something specific? What might that be? So if it's a food journal, sometimes helps. Of course, investing in food sensitivities, etc., is the best way to do that. But if your question is where does one start, and keeping it simple, and you're right, it's overwhelming. Don't let it become overwhelming. Keeping with the basics, and tuning in a little bit more about specifics. Thanks for your question, Kate. It looks like Nathika, I hope you still. How do we kick a sugar? Yes, how do we kick a sugar addiction? I hope you're still with me. I think you are. This is a great question. Yes, the secret here that I love working with clients on is how do we kick a sugar addiction? So let me guess. The sugar craving comes either late at night or it comes in the afternoon. if it's so it's that downfall, it's that your inulin has risen and then it has dropped, insulin I should say, sorry, and that's because it's not being regulated properly with the right nutrients. The nutrients that you're missing is protein. Start your morning with protein. That's how you kick your sugar addiction in the afternoon and the evening. So in the morning, eat something that's protein heavy. If it's a protein smoothie, I don't mean a protein smoothie with a ton of fruit in it either, right? You got to keep that balance. Add some veg in there, add some coconut oil in there, get some good fats in there, add some fiber, add some chia seeds, add some hemp seeds. But make sure that protein is also in there as well, or more protein, I should say. But smoothies aren't for everyone. So there's other protein items, obviously, eggs, whatever you choose to eat in the morning, but just make sure you've got a good amount of protein in the morning. And then that will help crave that, kick that sugar addiction. So hope you got that one. Oh, do you have an opinion of how GMOs affect the microbiome? Yeah, I mean, from food GMOs to supplement GMOs, they're all going to affect the microbiome a lot different. They'll alter the DNA of our microbiome, so of those microorganisms, they'll change it. They'll also consume our natural microorganisms, but if we make sure that we have a strong ecosystem and our strong organisms, that those 2/3 that belong to me that are individual, if I make sure I feed them the right foods and keep them strong and healthy to be able to colonize and seed, then they should be able to withstand certain factors, of course. Yeah, so that's just my opinion on that one. I'm just trying to answer questions for people that are still with me here, so you can feel free to keep typing questions. I apologize if I pronounce this wrong. Jayasa, I see that you have written quite a bit. It's quite personal. So I'm going to say email me. You can email me at info@irenepauline.com, and I'm happy to get more into this. I hope that I've provided you some solutions already. Yeah, you've got some really specific, so happy to answer them. Just yeah, I don't want to get too in depth here. Let's see, and then I think I missed one from Taylor. Taylor, I hope you're still with me too. Is there such a thing as too much good bacteria? I've heard of overpopulation of certain strains. Yes, that is true. And that is where it goes back to diversity. So what you'll find is there'll be the CFU counts, what unfortunately, we have marketed so well to the general public. It's about billions and trillions of a certain strain. And that's what you see in traditional probiotics. And with that is where that's where you have to continuously take that probiotic to keep feeding that strain, because that strain is not native to your intestines. So it's going to overpopulate, and then it's going to wipe out your own individual strains. And that's what you don't want to happen. And that's where you'll see symptoms like some people say, oh, I tried that probiotic and it's causing diarrhea, or it's giving me more bloating. And that's because that strain isn't native to your own ecosystem. And that's where you have to work with whole food, plant-based probiotics. So yes, consuming more fermented foods isn't going to cause an overpopulation. And consuming natural fermented supplements, that's also going to feed your own ecosystem of your own gut. So it will only strengthen your own individual bacteria, and it won't lead to that overpopulation. So just I think also now there's SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. So that's an overpopulation, but more of on the bad guy side. Hope that answers it, Taylor. Great. I love it. I'm getting lots of great feedback. Perfect. Okay, I think if there's no other questions, I know there's still some of you on here. I'm here for you. So feel free to type away. I don't mind by any means. So um, feel free to type. If there's no more questions, I'll log off in a little bit. But thank you so much. I'm just going to go make sure I answered them all. Oh. Thank you so much, Taylor. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm very happy to stay connected and continue, share the message a little bit more and be able to do another. No problem at all. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm going to log off now as well. It looks like no other questions are coming through, so thanks again.